Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Sussex Daily News Channel version 2. This morning, we give you a piece of breaking news from New Idea magazine. Meghan's dirty conspiracy to reach out to Brad Pitt is revealed. Even before she became a household name thanks to her royal connections, the Duchess of Sussex's greatest dream was hooking up with Brad Pitt for her career or otherwise. As a struggling bit-part actress scoring roles on Lifetime movies and as a briefcase girl on Deal or No Deal, mixing with the A-list was a pipe dream for Meghan and her fellow wannabe stars, who were pounding the pavements in Hollywood in the mid-2000s. A source says, back then, they would all talk about what it would be like to star along the likes of Brad Pitt or George Clooney, and of course, everyone had crushes on them. At the time, Brad was divorcing Jennifer Aniston, and even though Angelina Jolie was on the scene, Meghan outwardly confessed she'd like to be the next Mrs. Pitt. Now, in a reversal of fortunes beyond even Meghan's wildest dreams when she was in her early 20s, the now 38-year-old is back in Los Angeles with a prince on her arm, and she expects her newfound status to open doors with stars such as Brad. This source also said Meghan has been badgering Brad's people at Plan B Entertainment to set up a meeting for them since the day she and Harry touched back down in Los Angeles. When she has her eye on a prize, she relentlessly pursues it until she gets what she wants. And right now, that's to star in a movie with Brad. She's pestering his assistants constantly and has been begging George Clooney, a mutual friend of both Meghan and Brad's, to set them up for a casual, professional dinner to go over her ideas. But Meghan has so far found herself ignored at every turn, and insiders exclusively tell New Idea that Jennifer, who recently rekindled her relationship with Brad, has put the kibosh on him meeting with Meghan. Like everyone, Jen has kept up with the whole saga about Meg marrying into the royal family and promising them everything, only to abandon them, which doesn't look good on anyone, says the source. But for Jen, it's a little more personal. Word gets around in Hollywood and she's heard how Meghan had designs on her husband during an intensely painful part of her life. So she's suspicious of her motives. She is also best friends with jewelry designer Jennifer Meyer, who received a rap on the knuckles from Kensington Palace when she posted on social media that Meghan wore one of her necklaces and was asked to wipe her Instagram of all mentions of Meghan. Jen thought that really stank. Lastly, Jen is friends with a crew of actresses who have worked their asses off since they were kids to get where they are, and they'll be damned if this woman comes in expecting to take the plum roles with just a handful of real acting experience, just because she married Harry. She has told Brad in no uncertain terms that she is not supportive of him working with Meg. Sadly for Jen, she may not have a choice. Brad is an inherently nice person, so he won't be able to say no to her forever. And Harry, we hardly see him anymore. When he does appear in a video, Harry is not the same. He is a shell of his former self. Meghan changed his looks, the way he dressed, and apparently, per the news, forcefully subjected him to hair treatments for his bald spots. She made him leave the only home and family he has ever known. Unfortunately, for all looks and purposes, Harry is totally henpecked and emasculated. Meanwhile, with pressure mounting on Prince Andrew, a new book exposes how the scandal-prone royal was always on course to shame the monarchy. New Idea's exclusive extract from Prince Andrew. Epstein and the palace reveal how the Duke of York has been behaving badly and disappointing the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh since childhood. According to recent polls, Andrew is unquestionably the least popular member of the royal family. His appearance on UK TV show Newsnight, in which he defended his friendship with the American pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and failed to express sympathy for the multimillionaire's victims, has led to much mockery and disbelief. Corporate sponsors have deserted him. Charities no longer clamor for his patronage. Even the Queen, Andrew's greatest supporter, bowed to the inevitable. She told him he'd be losing his $450,000 in taxpayer-funded salary and could now only appear in public at family events. After a lifetime of doing whatever he wants, more or less, with impunity, Prince Andrew is out in the cold. The problem with Andrew, a senior Buckingham Palace official said in 2001, is that his mouth engages before his brain does. How, I wondered, does one even begin to reconcile this unsavory character with the much adored Prince Charming of the past? Was he too easily influenced? Or marked by some trauma? Or were the seeds of his misfortune there all along? As I embarked on my research for my new biography of the 60-year-old prince, it soon became clear that he'd been radically different from his siblings as a child. From the beginning, the palace staff found him a handful. His nanny, Mabel Anderson, called him Baby Grumpling because of his temper tantrums and obstinacy. And Andrew's alternative nickname was the Young Imp, as he was always getting up to mischief, such as removing all the valves from Mabel's radio or tying the sentry's shoelaces together. In contrast to Charles and Anne, who'd been born before their mother became the queen, he had 7 nurseries and 4 palaces, endless sumptuous treats, and far more of his mother's attention. Prince Philip, too, delighted in this boisterous young son, who seemed far more like him than the self-conscious and complicated Charles. Somehow, Andrew was always forgiven, even when he sprinkled itching powder in his mother's bed or climbed onto the roof of Buckingham Palace to turn the TV aerial so that the Queen wouldn't be able to watch the racing at Sandown Park. After that last prank, however, even his fond mother had to admit he has not always been a little ray of sunshine about the home. At 8, Andrew was sent to Heatherton, a prep school in Ascot, where he gained a reputation as a bit of a bully or a natural boss. According to Philip, the Heatherton staff, it must be said, were not sorry to see him leave. Next, Andrew was sent to board at Gordonston, in the north of Scotland, where he signally failed to shine either academically or at the sport. Nor was he popular. Fellow pupils described him as a boastful and big-headed. They also dubbed him the Sniggerer, because he kept telling blue jokes and then laughing so hard, according to one boy, that you couldn't understand the punchline. At 16, Andrew went to Canada with his parents for the 1976 Montreal Olympics. 6 foot of sex appeal was how one Canadian newspaper described him, and he was duly bombarded with requests for dates. Flying back to Canada a year later, he was greeted at the airport by young girls screaming, "We want Andy!" In truth, few teenagers could have avoided such adulation going to their heads. It was then that Andrew ditched his suits and ties and espousing a Marlboro Man look, jeans, big buckle belts, and open-neck shirts. By contrast, Charles looked stuffy and old-fashioned. Back at Gordonston, there was a series of girlfriends, none of whom lasted long. His luckier female schoolmates cheerfully called themselves Andy's harem, while the girls he had ignored bitched, "Whose turn is it on the road rowda today?" Royal bodyguard Ken Worf recalled being moved from a window seat on a plane from Balmoral because he was obstructing Andrew's view. "His manners," Worf said, "are just awful." And an aide revealed, "I've seen him treat his staff in a shocking, appalling way. He's been incredibly rude to his personal protection officers, literally throwing things on the ground and demanding they fucking pick them up. No social graces at all. Sure, if you're a lady with blonde hair and big boobs, then I bet he's utterly charming." On leaving school, Andrew decided to become a pilot in the Navy. The other cadets resented his privileges, not to mention the requirement to salute his car when he drove around the base. As one cadet recalled, he played the big "I am the prince" routine all the time and seemed rather arrogant. Even the higher ranks were left somewhat underwhelmed. "Andrew is very likable, but he's very conscious of being a royal," said one senior officer. "He's a bit of a mummy's boy. You could never say that about Charles." And Charles certainly wouldn't talk about girl conquests. While at Dartmouth, Andrew's nickname among his classmates was Golden Eagle because of his habit of dropping clangers when questioned by his instructors. Still, he made a big effort towards the end of the course and ended up receiving Best Pilot award from his proud father. His first tour of duty was on the aircraft carrier HMS Hermes. When he introduced to the captain, he said casually, "Hi, I'm Prince Andrew, but you can call me Andrew." The captain replied, "And you can call me Sir." Not long after his 22nd birthday, the new sub-lieutenant found himself at war. On April 2nd, 1982, Argentina had invaded the Falklands, and Andrew's ship, the HMS Invincible, was one of the first to set sail for the South Atlantic. Like his fellow servicemen, Andrew had executed his military duties with dedication and honor. On his return, the palace helped push Andrew center stage as a hero. He gave interviews about his experiences as a decoy and spoke to his fear while under attack. If he failed to mention the other personnel who had helped rescue the sole survivor of the downed helicopter, well, nobody really noticed. Suddenly, the bar against which the warrior prince would be judged for the rest of his life had been set very high. My story today has ended. How do you feel about this? Please let me know in the comment section below and we'll talk about it. Remember to like and share my video for everyone who needs it. And subscribe to the Sussex Daily News team to get more news from the royal family. Now, have a nice day and see you in the next videos. Bye!